But that 100 million pass-through sounds like the gimmicks you're trying to get rid of. When you set your budget in place, you said you got rid of all those gimmicks. Now you're taking 100 million back in.
Well, David, I think you can explain.
Right, it is a pass-through. At the end of the day, it all shows up on the bottom line.
We feel, frankly, that, that's the way the House and the Senate were both working it, and we can understand their justification for it. So that's one thing that, and it really doesn't make a difference in terms of the bottom line level of spending. And what we said from the beginning is, we want a budget that spends less than we take in each and every year. We want a 2-year budget and a 5-year projection, and we want to make sure that it's sustainable for the long term. We have not had that in this state for a long time. That's why we inherited this financial mess, because they used all this trust fund money and one-time money, and we had this huge budget cliff. And we're saying, we're not going to go through that, and we're not going to do it again next year. We're going to do this right, and we're going to do it in a way that's sustainable.
What are your contingencies?
And Iowans support that, by the way. Everywhere I go, when I was out there at the Gold Star Museum yesterday, when I was in Guthrie Center for Memorial Day, people come up to me and say, Governor, you're on the right track. We appreciate what you're doing, and we want you to stick by it and stay tough and get this job done.
What are your contingency plans for the possibility of a government shutdown? We received a letter this morning from the Democrats to you that indicated to them you have contingency plans in place for a shutdown.
Well, first of all, the governor has emergency powers whenever there's an emergency. I am not anticipating an emergency. I will deal with it if I have to, but I think they need to get serious about doing the job, and I've canceled my trip, so I'll be available to do whatever I have to do. And obviously I have confidence in David Broder and Jeff Boink in negotiating with them, and if I need to be directly involved in it, I will be.
Isn't it accurate though that your Department of Management is creating a contingency plan on how people would get paid?
We always have contingencies for every emergency that could happen. But, that doesn't, we don't, let me just tell you, we had to crash a Flight 232 in Sioux City. Okay, we had done preparations of a possible plane crash. We've done, we deal with ice storms, tornadoes, floods. Right now we're experiencing some flooding, by the way, up there in northwest Iowa along the Missouri River. So, yeah, we have to deal with all those kinds of situations, but there's plenty of time for the legislature to perform its responsibility and pass a budget that spends less than we take in.
I just wonder how helpful some of the metaphors are that you've been using. You're the sheriff that means they're the outlaws. Today, you're the parents that means they're the children.
I guess what I would say is, the bottom line is, the people of Iowa elected a new governor. And they elected a new governor because they were not satisfied with the direction the state was going and the financial mess that had been created by the previous governor and legislature. Somehow they haven't gotten that message yet. And the people of Iowa made it clear to me, and I am absolutely resolute, determined that I am going to do what I promised to do when I was elected to this office. And that's what Iowans expect of me, and that's what I'm going to do.
What happens if you don't reach a deal by the end of June?
I'm not going to speculate about that. I'm going to say, we have got a month to resolve it and get serious.
In regards to your budget as compared to the House Republican, on Friday, Senator Branstad indicated you have asked the Democrats to add back in some of the cuts that House Republicans have made, thinking perhaps of the Rural Iowa Values Fund they completely eliminated. Are there some of those $25 million that you just previously outlined a few minutes ago that you're asking be added back in?
Actually, we have worked things out with the House Republicans, and they have come up $100 million from what their original budget was, and so we feel comfortable that we can live with the provisions that have been made there, and that's been shared with the Senate leadership, with the Senate Democratic leadership.
So will the Throw Iowa Values Fund exist?
Well, it's going to be by a different name, and there will be funds available for economic development projects. Well, you know, I think we've always had something available for, and what we want is something that's frankly more, where there's more flexibility and that meets the needs, and it's not as large as it has been in the past, but we think there is a need to have a fund like that available, and I think that clearly we will have something, and that has been agreed upon.
So how much funds would there be,
I think it's 15 million.
down from 25?
What are your prospects for your public-private partnership?
Well, it's in the Senate, it's in, I think it's in a good position, and I think if it comes to a vote, the votes are there to pass it.
Why does the Grow Iowa Values Fund need a new name?
Because it's not, it's been reconfigured to have a broader application.
Does that create confusion to people?
The names have changed over the years. We called it the SEBA, I think, when I was governor before. So it's gone through many name changes over the years, and I don't think people are focused on what the name of it is. It's more, does the state have some resources to help with the forgivable loans or grants or loans like that that can help in an economic development project? And I think Debbie Durham feels there's a need for a fund like that. I certainly support that, and we have reached a concurrence with the House on that.
So we're not just trying to erase the name that Governor Wilson?
No, we're trying to come up with something that is more generic and more meets the needs of the future as we look to attracting business and jobs.
The last couple of weeks, you talked about that, at least from the way you see things, there have been some progress in these overall talks. Is it
Yes.
fair to say that as you stand here today, you feel a little differently?
Well, I think what happened, there's progress was made until the Senate Democrats met last week and basically told Senator Branstad, you don't have the authority to negotiate. And I think he tried in good faith, but his caucus basically said no.
So what does that mean?
So he came back and said the deal's off. We thought he was going to be giving us a counter proposal and we could work with him from that. But you know, if they aren't willing to make a counter proposal, we basically have got things worked out with the House. That says they're, you know, they're not interested in accomplishing something. So I don't know. I think he's lost control of his caucus.
So are they trying to shut the government down?
No, I think you got a situation where the leader has tried but hasn't been able to get the support of his caucus to negotiate something, to get this worked out. And hopefully over time they'll realize that they need to work, and they need to respect and recognize the fact that you do have, they have been used to being kind of calling the shots for the last several years. But now you've got a Republican governor and you have a Republican majority in the House. And that's a different set of circumstances than they've dealt with for some time, and they need to respect and recognize that. And their priorities can be accommodated within those concerns that we've expressed about a budget that is sustainable for the long term and spends less than we take in each year.
But the biggest sticking point is they want to, it's just the amount of money to spend.
I think that's the biggest sticking point, yes. And House Republicans feel very strongly they're not going to agree to spend more, and we are in agreement with that.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.